Time for our next debate. Should the police officers, should they get days off for mental health? 0207 862 2222, because it's hard miles when you're a cop and they're calling in sick in record numbers. The equivalent of more than 4,000 every day are off work ill. Figures from the Home Office revealed 1.63 million working days were lost in the year up to March 2025. The Police Federation has reported increased levels of stress, anxiety and depression, and a spokesperson for them described how the job is getting more dangerous. Record high number of assaults on officers. Then they say bad pay, worse morale, challenging working conditions leading to absences. I mean, very few jobs you can get attacked with a sword in. Mental health days are something that young people are a fan of. A third of Gen Z want them at work. And this would mean you could take a day off to recharge and care for your mental well-being. You'd be paid. But the idea is it saves money, Kevin, because it stops you coming in when you're a little bit ill and becoming very ill.
Yeah, so nip it in the bud. But they run to trouble when we're running away. And it is incredibly stressful. You go to work and your life is in danger every day. You see terrible things. You deal with really awkward, often violent, troubled people. And the figure that really brought it all home to me is 18 officers a year take their own lives. They die by suicide. Now, that's a huge proportion of police officers.
What do you think it's? I mean, it's danger partly, but I wonder if it's just the fact that you're never free of work.
No.
Every single arrest is a mountain of paperwork.
Yeah. And also, when you're off duty, sometimes people know you're a police officer. They can either shun you, they can abuse you. You tell them you do something else. You take it with you everywhere. It's where you live. You're incredibly scrutinised. You're held accountable, and quite rightly. I know some police officers have been sentenced for rape and murder and so on. Most of them are not like that. They're normal people, but they're doing it a really, really stressful job. I think there's a case for mental health days for some other people. If you're frontline emergency in the NHS, if you're a firefighter, these people are
if you're a builder, if you run your own business, they can't, of course.
No. If you're self-employed, I'm afraid you get far fewer rights and less help than you should. But I think police officers, you've got to recognise the strain and stress they're under.
Just to save them having a full breakdown, Anne.
I agree entirely with what Kevin says about the stress of the job. That applies to an awful lot of jobs. It applies to fire. It applies to ambulance men who see terrible things.
Farming.
It applies, for that matter, to train drivers.
Yeah, but these are all public sector.
Hang on. Just let me... We had quite a session there.
It's called a conversation.
Case. So, I mean, it's reasonable to say that it's hugely stressful. That is reasonable. What I think is unreasonable is that anybody in any job, after all, the employers have got rotas, they're expecting officers to turn out and be in certain places at certain times, is that anybody in any job at all can simply phone in and say, actually, I feel, not quite up to it today, so I'm not coming in. Now, if they're going through stress because there has been a particular incident, then I would expect anyway that they'd probably been certified to have time off. For example, a train driver who kills somebody on the tracks because they've committed suicide gets 3 months off. We do these days understand the strains on mental health. But no, to have people phoning in saying, can't come in today, absolute big no-no.
OK, I think they call it a duvet day in Australia. Tony in Northumberland, hello.
Hello.
Are you involved in the force?
I was in the fire brigade.
And was there any question there of saying I can't come in today because my head's not in the right place?
Yes, we used to work shifts from 9 o'clock in the morning till 5 at night, and then from 5 o'clock at night until 9 in the morning. Yeah. Now, we saw some sights that you would not believe, but we would turn up again at 5 o'clock in the evening to do our 12-hour shift. We did not ever take off time. We saw things that were quite horrendous. And I think it's time that and I don't see anything that the police would do that we didn't do it and do more of.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to make a comparison. I suppose the police might get physically attacked more because they're actually intercepting bad people, but that's almost a detail, Tony. I totally understand what you're saying.
Listen, I've had to use a shovel to get people off the floor, We've got unbelievable.
Yeah.
I believe
it. Okay. Well, and you wouldn't have dreamt of. But did you ever suffer a breakdown then, Tony?
No, you just got on with it.
Well, not. But hang on. That's what. Not everyone could do that. Some people have a. They have a fuse box. No, and it's true. No. They have a fuse box that saves them from going back into battle, and the fuse box is called burnout.
Jeremy, you've just mentioned battle. Would you, sorry, I'll be with you in half a second. Jeremy, you've just mentioned battle. Would you actually advocate that members of the armed forces can say, sorry, I don't feel up to fighting today? Come on, the emergency services must be available.
There's a huge issue about the mental health of serving
Absolutely.
And afterwards.
But you don't expect them to be able to phone in and say they can't fight
after the Falklands, more took their lives than were killed.
Well, it's difficult in an active battle to have people saying, can I just have, 5 minutes? But that is a bit of an exceptional case. But listen, Tony, thank you.
It's an emergency.
No? Well, right. But, people who have breakdowns, they start with mild depression. They keep working harder. They work harder and harder. And then in the end, they have psychosis and they can't go back into work for 2 years. That's the problem. So you're just trying to stop the total meltdown. Stephen in Fife, hello.
Hello.
Well, what do you think of this? Let the police say, look, I can't come in today because my head's not in the right place.
Well, I think they're human beings, the same as all of us.
Stephen, can you just try talking into the handset?
The police are human beings, the same as the rest of us. They're not perfect by far from it. But as far as mental health treatment goes, they deserve to be treated the same as any other.
What does that mean, though? Because crucially, Stephen, a farmer can't ring in sick because guess what? She employs herself.
But, this isn't about farmers. It's always farmers.
It's the first time I mentioned them this week.
This is about mental health, generally speaking, is not given enough attention. And the police are constantly criticised, especially the Met these days, and justifiably so. But there are good policemen and policewomen out there. I know there are bad ones. I've experienced it. But they do deserve the treatment and help.
Okay, thank you. One reason to give people a bit of time to let some air out of the tyres is this, that you do not want someone seriously mentally ill holding a gun. Now, we've seen plane crashes recently which are a result of pilot action. And these are guys, and I don't know what we're going to find out with Air India, I'm not sure, but Air Wings was a guy called Andris Lubitz, locks himself in the cockpit, takes the whole plane down.
We're talking about the difference between planning to treat somebody's mental issues, so that if somebody is under stress and you can see it building up, you plan for them to have time off, and between somebody simply not turning up for duty. Now, there is an enormous difference, Jeremy. I don't see how you can run a police force if people can just decide not to report for duty.
Yeah, but you're making it sound as if decide it's just a little option. I fancy a day off. In Australia, duvet days. That sounds like you're skiving. These are people who are incredibly responsible, incredibly stressful, and all of a sudden you just can't cope. But that's it. But
isn't the farmer? I know I got told off for mentioning farmers, but there's a classic example.
All the small businessmen.
Their taxes, they are small business people. Their taxes pay for our fire brigade, our police force. They can't ring their boss and have a duvet day.
No, it's
however stressed they may be.
You're making the point, people are self-employed. It might be a plumber or an electrician. Yeah, they might be a construction worker, a taxi driver.
Yeah.
If you're self-employed, you get very little support from the state. I think we have to address that because the self-employment portion of the workforce has increased, and you get so few. You get very little help. And we've somehow got to fix that as well. But we going to the question of a police officer. If a police officer is waking up and they're in no condition to go to work, it's better they don't go to work. They go to work because they'll make mistakes and they won't be able to do their jobs.
If it's building up that much, then it should be perfectly possible to plan it properly.
It should be, but if it's not...
But the idea that you phone up and you say, I'm not coming in today, I'm sorry, I absolutely reject it, totally.
What happened? You accept it, though, presumably if they're physically ill. If they've got, they wake up and they're vomiting and a terrible headache and they've broken a leg or something.
That if somebody made
you'd accept that, but you're gonna have that. You can have the mental version of that where you just can't cope, you can't deal with it.
Well, the mental version of physical illness, what we're talking about, lower end, would be feeling nauseous. Now, I think you can come into work if you're feeling nauseous, but then the worry is you then vomit in the office. Anne in Durham, hi.
Hi, Jeremy. Hi, panel.
What do you think, Anne?
I think this is a really, really good topic, but it's good for in all areas. Now, I think, especially in high demanding jobs, that counselling should be mandatory. And every few weeks, I mean, I think in life, the rat race, what we all go through in life, every 10 years somebody needs to say, right, now you need to release. Now it needs to go, get rid. Let's make it fresh. And in the police force, this should be every, few months, right, you're going to go and see. And it should be mandatory for like 1 or 2 hours a week that person, whether they think it or not, they go and offload. And it should be a life, and it shouldn't be poo-pooed.
But that's a morning. That's a morning or afternoon. You can't knock that much time out of the police force. There are already whole areas of the country where they haven't solved a burglary for 10 years.
The idea that it has to be mandatory, Anne, that you bully people into doing it who don't want to do it.
Well, just say, lock yourself in that room and tell her what's going on.
I mean, I was in a high-stress job. If anybody had said to me, you've got to have counselling...
Which was the job? Which was your high-stress job?
Oh, you don't know what I did for a living, right? Okay.
I just wanted to be sure we were talking about the same...
Little wine on there.
You loved it, though. Alex in Berkshire, hi.
Hi, Jeremy, how are you?
I'm all right, thanks. Yeah, I don't know what I think of this, which is always handy. What do you think?
I think it's brilliant. As a serving police officer myself, not too long ago, I ended up dealing with 2 suicides in the space of a couple of hours. As soon as I got into the office, I was straight out to one railway fatality while I was picking up parts of a deceased person. Within 2 hours, I got back to my office. I was straight back out to another one, which turned out to be a child suicide.
Oh, what? Oh, no. You've got to... how do you even prepare yourself? There's no training can prepare you for that, is there?
No, there's not. Again, it's like being a supervisor as well. It's you're not as hands-on as the cops on the ground are going to be doing all stuff, but a lot of the decision-making is going to be coming down to yourself. I ended up doing part of the sympathy message as well with the family over the child.
Yeah.
I turned around after dealing with it, phoned my inspector up and said, Gov, I ain't coming in tomorrow. I'm taking a day to myself.
Good for you. Okay, Alex, thank you. That's left us thinking. Thank you so much, which is the whole point of the show. Later, it's the papers and everything else. Find out why a pensioner was fined. Even as I read this, I can't believe it. A leaf blew into his mouth. He went to get it out. Someone saw him. £250 fine for spitting. After the break, we're asking, have Christmas decorations gone too far? 0207 862 2222. One family has spent £10,000 on theirs. There we are, but it's worth it, isn't it? Send your decoration pictures to our special WhatsApp number, which is the least easy to remember number in broadcasting history, 07599 639 896. We'll be back shortly.